Ooh, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to WineShark Wednesday. It is I, your host, the WineShark, here to enjoy another afternoon of wine and wine frivolity. I hope you guys are having a good week. It's been a stormy, thundery, rainy week here in Dallas, which has been a nice break from the August heat. So that's been kind of interesting, considering we talked about wines for hot weather last week, and now it's moderate. So there you go. Anyway. Let's see what's been going on. Things in the near future and near past. Well, actually, not much in the near past, but in the near future, we've got some fun stuff coming up. We've got scheduled for the free online show for the end of the month on 27 August. We're going to do Wine and Cheese Part 10, and the feature is decided as Spain. So we're going to do Spanish wine and Spanish cheese. What grows together goes together is kind of an axiom in the wine world, and the wine and cheese world is no different. So we're going to try a couple bottles of Spanish wine, 4 different cheeses. Again, it's an open style show, so I've got suggestions up as to the types of wine I'm drinking, and you guys can easily buy those and drink along with. But as far as the cheese suggestions, I posted some examples, but it's really bring to the party what you got that's on theme. One of our goals is to share around and really kind of expand past just the stuff that yours truly is getting, and really talk about the topic overall and get everybody's kind of feedback, opinions, and participation. So love it when you guys do that, and I think it's a lot of fun. So Wine and Cheese Part 10, 27 August. It's a Friday, so that'll be fun. Also, we got a new date down at Reunion Tower, September 12th. We're going to do our Back to School special. Back to school is not really the theme. We're not talking about drinking in school, although, you might want to, after some of the craziness that's going on these days. But in this case, really what we're talking about is the transition between the end of summer and the beginning of fall. Harvest season is basically coming up upon us in different parts of the world. And so we're looking at kind of some of the transitions, the end of summer flavors, kind of picking up the beginning, and just we're going to hit some cool wines that hit that focus. Of course, we'll also be having some wonderful food pairings, and it's a great show. Sunday afternoon, 12th of September. So both those tickets are available on Eventbrite. I will still haven't gotten them on Facebook because there's been an API problem. I need to stop trying to use one-click lazy mode, and I'll probably just post them up myself here either after the show or tomorrow. So look for those tickets, and they will be there. Although they are available for purchase via Fever too. So anyway, all right. So today's topic: house wine. It's a very interesting kind of broad term, house wine. What the hell is house wine, you might ask? Well, originally, I think that what we think about where it is origin versus where it is today, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about. So originally, to my understanding, house wine was really about bulk wine being sold to end retailers for its final use. Bottles are not, although bottles of wine are kind of standard format, right? We think about this as the go-to package that wine comes in, but that hasn't been the truth for most of wine's history. This is a fairly modern invention, along with, of course, the cork. So this little combo is, I think, only, I want to say roughly, the cork perspective, only about 200 years old, 150, 200 years old, and then bottles, as the format that we know, again, is only a couple hundred years more than that. Wine was stored in much larger format vessels, and certainly when it came to bulk production and selling, oftentimes wine was sold by the barrel, by the keg and or barrel. So the larger format that you'd sell off, right? A butt, for instance, is a unit of measure. Have you ever heard of a butt ton? Is actually a unit we use for wine determination. So those larger formats that were sold then into for use in various places was where the wine originally started, as that was the wine that was from the house. Eventually, as bottles came to prominence, finer restaurants, hotels, bars would begin to bottle it on premise, to sell it as a bottled format to a customer, but it was basically bought and then bottled on premises. So it was bottled in-house as opposed to just the wine of the house, not made in-house, but bottled in-house that this came from. This, of course, lowers costs, and the wines were often unlabeled as to their producer or their origin. In other words, it was simply just the house wine. This was the wine that we sell here of, whatever I don't know, let's make up a bar, a hotel, Saint Ivrain's Tavern and Inn has blah blah. This particular wine is their favorite, and they might be featuring wines just there that they buy locally from a guy that makes wine down the valley. Okay, as commerce and stuff gets bigger, that process starts to change, but that process was still in place even in the last 50 years, where people would buy bulk wines and bottle them in house. So today, we'll talk about versions of that today, but one of the interesting things that comes as part of the culture of wine, or the ceremony, I would say, the ceremony of wine is from this little cork here. One of the things that we do as part of wine service, especially formal wine service, is present the guest with the cork. And you may wonder why. Well, not to dive onto that topic too big, but one of the reasons is to show the customer that the wine on the label on the cork, this is today's Santa Gabriella in Italy, matches the label Santa Gabriella from Italy. Oops, I got it the way. Okay, this was to ensure that when you were paying for a specific brand, especially a higher end wine, that the master of the house was not filling your bottle with his house wine and selling you something more expensive. Okay, so that little check balance there was done as part of the ceremony. When that process was still happening, then that was part of the ceremony. Now today, modern day, that's not nearly as common a reason. The other reason that a waiter or sommelier might present you with a cork is to make sure that the cork is indeed still intact for its condition, especially if the bottle's older. But generally speaking, it's one of the ceremonial things that we do, but it is not necessarily anything functional from the customer's perspective. They put it on the table in a little serviette, you leave it be. As far as you're concerned, it's garbage. You don't need to mess with it. But anyway, so hence the link back to cork. But modern wine, what is house wine in modern terms? I think the way that most of us here in more Western culture think of it is it's the restaurant's default label of wine. Often it is the least expensive wine on their menu. They may purchase this wine at bulk, and they want a entry-level, inexpensive option that is their quote-unquote house wine. And now it may be still selling you a labeled wine. It's not necessarily from their house anymore, but that is what has become the custom, at least in the U.S. Now, we do still ship wine in bulk, but we rarely sell it to end retailers that way due to the laws regarding distribution. So you're not going to see things like them selling a restaurant an entire giant vat of wine. They're not going to roll up. For example, when we spoke about wine transport, one of the things that I have seen though in the modern era is during transport, especially from Europe to the U.S., they will ship the wine in different containers. Shipping bottles is heavy, and therefore you might see something like, say, that's our bottle label, something like this, like a Flexitank, right? So these are bottled in the end country location and then shipped to the consumer. But they don't roll one of these up to the back of your restaurant and then just tap into it. Okay, that's not really a thing. Okay, so that concept has kind of gone away. But you also might see what the example today. Actually, a little side note there. The other kind of exception to that, what I would say, are keg wines. Now, keg wines are sold from the distributor to the end retailer, so they aren't sold directly from producer to retailer. But keg wine is that other large-scale delivery format that we are now getting more and more used to, where you might find, I think they are, I don't know how many liters are in one of these things. I think it's about 25. But they're large format, and then you serve them via tap. And that's a great way to serve your wine because it keeps the wine fresh. It keeps it temperature controlled. There's many, many benefits. Up to and including you can serve any amount you want, from a tiny 1 ounce taste to a full carafe. I'm all for and a huge fan of wine on tap. So those come in kegs, just FYI. So kegs are a large format that does directly ship that's kind of the modern version of the good old, hey, here, have a whole case, or have a whole keg, rather, or barrel. Anyway, but what we're also seeing in the wine retail world is custom, or what I call white labeled wines. Today's example falls into that category. So larger entities might choose to bulk purchase wine that is bottled and labeled exclusively for their use. This may or may not be disclosed on the label. And the example that we have today, this is the Santa Gabriela Pinot Grigio, Valladia. Okay, and we're going to talk about why Valladia is cool, because that's pretty awesome. But basically, this is a wine that says nowhere on it that who actually the end retailer actually is. But what it says on the back is it says estate bottled in Dolce by Terra Domince SRL, ALA Italia, imported by CL Direct Imports, White Plains, New York, USA. However, in trying to find a winery to find a picture, a label picture for you guys, let me go ahead and just stick to that. To find this bottle shot came from the Albertson's website, which, well, I didn't shop for this at Albertson's, I shopped for it at Tom Thumb, which is a Albertson's sub-affiliate. So this is a grocery store branded wine that is exclusively made and bottled by them. Basically, they have an exclusive deal to market and sell this. You're not going to see this at Total Wine or a restaurant or anything else like that, because this is for their exclusive use. Kind of effectively a house label with a kind of a modern twist there. So this is an interesting case of that sort of thing. I've encountered it before here on the grocery store grab. Firefly Ridge, that's another brand that is the Albertsons, Safeway, Tom Thumb brand name. So there are many of these, and so you might go to, okay, well, why would they do that instead of just labeling it, here's our Albertsons brand wine? Well, for the same reason that they might see label bias at the rest of the grocery store. While you may put products back to back that are the same product inside the packaging, one might have a major brand name label on it, let us say Coca-Cola, compared to the Safeway brand, or whatever name it happens to have, and therefore people are going to migrate towards the brand that they know. Their brand loyalty is a very real thing, especially amongst consumers that consume products habitually or out of necessity. They tend to stick to something that they like. I mean, I'm the same way. I buy the same brand of milk all the time. I buy the same sodas all the time. So it's not a bad thing, but that loyalty thing is something that, or the bias against generics, if you will, is very real. And so rather than try and have a high-end Italian import, we'll talk about why this is high-end or higher end in a minute, but rather than try and fight that uphill climb to say, no, we swear, this is our Albertsons brand Pinot Grigio and it's awesome, they instead just say, no, give us the whole thing, the whole label, the package, we want it to look like this, talk like this, feel like this, walk like a duck, quack like a duck, smell like a duck, and therefore people think it's a duck, even though it's actually a brand name duck, generic duck. So anyway, I don't know how far that analogy might have fallen. I take that a little too far. Might have fallen on its face. So anyway, but that kind of was caught my attention. So went to the grocery store grab. Let's transition there. What a beautiful segue, you might say. So the grocery store grab, for those that are not familiar with the concept, is our idea to get the best value per dollar for wines found at non-specialty and non-big box retailers. They're chosen without prior research, based on label focus only. Many people don't have an option to shop at a specialty wine store or even a big box store like a Total Wine, Siegel, Spec, something like that. Or out of convenience, we shop at the grocery store. And the grocery stores these days have great wine selections, but not often well-trained wine staff. So we have to rely on the wine's label to tell us what's in this. This is an assumption that you're a newer to wine drinker, that you don't know all the bells, whistles, and tools. May not necessarily speak wine language. So what we want to see is we want to see specific things on the label. We want to know what grape the wine is made from. If it's a blend, we want to know what percentage of grapes they're in. We want to know where the grapes are grown. And if they're grown in a specific area, the more specific, the better. What does the wine taste like? We want flavor words, plain, understandable English flavor words that let us know what we could expect when we open up the bottle and pour ourselves a glass. If they're really nice, they will give us specific food pairings. The more specific, the better. General ones don't really get much credit, but speaking, if they're being more specific, that's a great example of helping us make good choices about our wines that we're going to try. So today's selection, as we just said, is the Santa Gabriela Pinot Grigio Valladia, Valladia. And Valladia is basically the valley in Alto Adige. Now that's something that yours truly happens to know. It does say on the label, Denominazione di origine controllata, which is the Italian phrase for DOC, or place of named origin. Now, again, I would not put that in the category of things that a new to wine person is supposed to know, but the idea that they're saying that there's, hey, look, there's fun Italian words on here, and it has this word on it. But on the back label is excellent. This is a product where, when reading the back, I was cruising through. I decided I wanted to do something kind of light, on the lighter side. I was looking in the light whites. Pinot Grigios grabbed my attention, and I'd never tried this label, so I flipped it around, looked in the back. So it says the same things on the back. It has the Santa Gabriela Pinot Grigio Valladia, and then it has it also has the 2019, has the vintage on it. But then the following marketing phrase paragraph exists. So Santa Gabriela Pinot Grigio is beautifully crafted from hand-picked grapes grown in the region of Valladia. Valladia. Gotta get that extra D in there, and I always miss it. So Valladia, located in northern Italian Alps. Hey, now it tells us this is where this is from. All right, crisp and refreshing, it displays elegant notes of citrus, white peach, and white flowers with a lingering finish. Delightful on its own, it will also perfectly complement appetizers, fresh seafood, sushi, and grilled vegetables. Dude, if that's not an A+ for all the things, this is probably one of the best single paragraph descriptions of a wine I've read in a long, long time. They didn't bother telling us anything. There's very little that's giving them their own pat on the back. They're not talking about their heritage or what they think. They tell us where it comes from. They tell us it's hand-picked, which is designed to give us a sense of quality. But basically, they've got all the elements we want on there, right? It's crisp and refreshing. They're not flavor words, but they're what we can expect out of the wine as an experience. Then it gives us flavors as well, with notes of citrus, white peach, and white flowers. Boom, we can understand what those things are. Then it goes so far as to even give us not just food preparations, although the word appetizers is broad. We got fresh seafood, sushis and sashimis, and grilled vegetables. So those are kind of broad, but at least that's several different angles that I think they've covered to give us a good sense of what you might want to try this with. So it's not specifying whether it's a grilled carrot or grilled corn. It's not specifying whether it's, a California roll or some fresh maki. It's not telling us whether the appetizer is fried mozzarella cheese sticks or a, crudité plate. That's not important per se. Those would be great, but this is pretty well on the way there. This is so far, it's got everything I want to see. Down the rest of the list, of course, I already gave you the quotation about where it's from, so it told us who made it and who imported it, even though it didn't flat out say, hey, this is actually exclusive to Albertsons, but that's fine. I understand why they didn't do that. It's 12.5 alcohol by volume according to the back, which is kind of dead in the middle of the wine world. So let's see whether our Santa Gabriela Pinot Grigio lives up to the name. This was listed price at $25 with a store discount, their little club membership thing, down to $19. So this is effectively a $20 bottle of wine. Okay, so that is up the range from most of what people would consider grocery store brands, right? They're not competing in the super super value category. They're not hitting in that $5 to $7 range. This is in the, okay, I expect quality. And by the way, with a single location DOC wine from Italy, this is right in the right ballpark, right? That's exactly what we should be looking for. So let's see whether it lives up to the hype. I, by the way, happen to love Pinot Grigios from northern Italy, specifically Alto Adige, Trentino, and Valladia as well. So Valladia. Oh yeah, right there. They definitely hit the notes of white flowers, a little hint of citrus, right? And peach. Yeah, I can totally see it. And I'd say that I would lean more towards it. Pinot Grigios tend more towards lemon. This is more of a Meyer lemon. It's a very gentle, it doesn't smell wildly sharp on the nose, right? It doesn't have that kind of stabby jolt that you get from very high acid wines. So hopefully this is in that medium plus category, not wildly acidic, but juicy. Yep, dead on. Acids all the way around the mouth. Easy, medium plus kind of acidity. Makes both the center of your tongue kind of stings with the acid, makes your whole mouth water, but it's not that super sour, cheek puckering level, but definitely it's up there. It's on the brighter side, like a glass of orange juice, kind of refreshing, right? I'd love to see a tech sheet on this and see where its pH and TA live, but this is a great example of just enough expressive acidity to get that crisp designation, right? To call it crisp and refreshing. Yeah, because this thing makes your mouth water. It's going to cleanse your palate over all the time. Great for hot weather. Great food partner. I mean, this is all the foods that they're talking about and mentioning. If you're going to do for your sushi for this, by the way, your sushis and sashimis, you're going to definitely want to add a little bit more weight to whatever you're having. I would put this as better class with most rolls where you've got more complicated flavors or layers of flavors going on. Especially anything that's got cream cheese in it or heavier sauces, anything in that, or so anything in that creamy, rich textured kind of thing is probably a better fit for this wine. I would stay away from some of the pure sashimi / nigiri where you're really just trying to get the flavor of the fish, because this has got enough acid that it's a little too dominant. I would steer a little bit, but hey, now you're getting into the details of what you learn when you come to WineShark shows. We'll talk about which wines we go with sushi, and we'll have a 3 wines with sushi dinner. How about that? With different types of sushis and sashimis, to quote the Letterkenny. Wow. So we asked 3 questions here. Is it well executed? Is it on style? And is it worth the price tag? Is it well executed? Absolutely. Is it on style? 100%. Now, on style, you got to know what styles look like. That's a little bit more advanced in your wine journey, but I'll tell you now, Northern Italian Pinot Grigios, this is dead on. It's not quite as minerally as some of the more Dolomite versions that I've had from, say, Kupelweiser or something like that. But this has got that Meyer lemon softness that they don't. Those tend to be a little bit more straight razor, steely edged. This is a little bit more mild than that. And then, is it worth the price tag? Oh yeah, for $20, this is exactly what I would expect to hope to get. And in fact, the fact that this is available at your grocery store as a good, solid, stylistically appropriate Italian Pinot Grigio, not just, as Jay McInerney would call it, a lemon-flavored food lubricant. This is a great example of that. So it is absolutely well executed, on style, and worth the price tag. A definite recommend from yours truly. So find your local Albertson, Safeway, Tom Thumb, etc. Pick yourself a bottle of Pinot Grigio from Santa Gabriella. Yeah, that's delightful. Really fun. Totally into it. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing great. Oh, see, Donna Den says she's going to have to look for that one. You probably would, Miss Donna. This is, again, right up that crisp, clean, easy drinking line. And again, not a ton of alcohol weight to it, and not, obviously, 0 on the tannin lines. This is a pure stainless steel number, I guarantee you. So let's talk about what else is coming soon. I'll just back to the front of the show. Wine and Cheese, Part 10. Free show, guys. Get your tickets. And it's free per connection. Don't get a ticket per person. Get 1 ticket per camera, and join us for a free wine and food tasting. You can spend as much or as little as you like on your wines. Just the theme is Spain, Spanish wine, Spanish cheese. Bring a couple bottles, bring a friend. It's a hell of a lot of fun and a great way to spend a Friday afternoon with yours truly. Then, if you want to join us personally, Wine Sunday at the Tower. And update on we're still having tour planning challenges. The current health crisis, which is becoming a concurrent theme in my world, is screwing with some planning. Hopefully, we will continue to be able to offer the tour issues, but both the Texas and California trips are currently in Geoparty, and I'm not really pleased with that. But I will keep you guys updated as soon as I actually have something for you to purchase. I will let everybody know. Patreons first, everybody else afterwards. look for those notices on Facebook to get signed up for info. I will get those out here this week. So, in closing, ask yourself this question. Put it in the comments down below after the show. What is your house wine? I speak of this quite often to some of the wines that, when I can talk about my house wine, I'm talking about my favorite example selections that I tend to keep on hand at all times. I keep Heritage Creek, Dry Creek, Zinfandel, or Heritage Vines, Dry Creek, Zinfandel as one of my house reds. I always keep a bottle of Beaujolais. I sell around usually. I think I've got a Morgon in there for this summer. I definitely keep a Chenin Blanc on hand at all times for my white wine lovers. My Boucher, Domaine Boucher V is on deck. These are some examples of the things that if you were to come to dinner or an event, I'd be able to offer for you guys here. Do you guys have the same thing at your house? Keep something around that's your favorite tipple or sipper? Let me know in the comments below. If you like what we're doing, share with a wine-loving friend. And if you really like what we're doing, come over and support us over on Patreon. Our Patreon, we get all kinds of special offers from Patreon, including exclusive content, access to all of the recorded Zoom shows, which are a deep dive into a topic. So like your Spanish wine show, you're going to get all of the notes that I did to make the Spanish wine show, plus, of course, the recording on access to watch whenever you want, so you can reference it in the past. We do wine pairings with specific foods and recipes that I'm making. We did a thing, I think, today where the watermelon and mascarpone parfait that we've been serving for the summer shows. There's lots of fun benefits at Patreon. Come support me over there. Your help would be appreciated to keep this shark swimming in the right direction. And always, I want to say thank you for joining us, and either whether you're watching live or whether you're going to be watching it later. Thank you all for your support. To all my subscribers, I want to say thank you, and thank you to all my Patreon members. So, until next time, I've been your Wine Shark. Cheers. I think now I have to find my